Hey everyone, back tuning into today's second video. I've already done the Stowatch update, looking at the chances of wintry conditions, particularly in the north and the west, later today, overnight tonight, and into the start of tomorrow morning. This video going to focus on the next 8 to 10 days, next week to 10 days, be taking us up to around the 23rd of January, so getting well on into the second half of the month. And it looks like we could be setting up quite a prolonged sort of cold spell, really. The charts have trended colder overnight. I did the video yesterday sort of discussing the chance that we may have a cold spell creeping up on us, and sort of the models are running off with that idea now. They could be overdoing it, it could be going over the top in response to the stratospheric warming, but it's all starting now, really. We get a bit of an interruption on Wednesday and Thursday with the storm coming through, which will lift the temperatures very briefly late Wednesday and into Thursday morning. But today, really, with these wintry showers, is the start of what could be quite a prolonged cold spell, certainly a week or two of pretty cold weather, and certainly the coldest conditions so far this winter. So it's all looking very interesting. I'll go through the charts in a moment, but before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on most of the pages at gadswebbiz.com. Have a browse through the widgets, and any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You have to read those articles, and because you've done that, GadsWebbiz is going to royalty fee on the things that you're doing. Thanks so much for doing that. There's also weather-related ads in yellow boxes, so have a look at what those are about and click through those if you're interested. And just generally have a play around with the ads. It's all helping to pay for GadsWebbiz, so thanks so much for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next 8 to 10 days. This is, as I say, will be taking us up to around the 23rd of January. We've got the ECMWF on the left of screen as you're looking at it. The GFS is over on the right. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere. We've got high pressure and low pressure being moved around by a jet stream running above. And on these charts, low pressure is extrapolating to blue colours, and orange and red extrapolates to high pressure. So what we're seeing here with the ECMWF is that we've got this area of blocking sitting to the north and the northeast of the country. The British Isles is just here. An area of blocking is sitting to the northeast area of high pressure, and we've got this cut-off trough developing to the south, so we've got quite a deep trough of low pressure to the south of the country just there, and that's being cut off down to the south because of this area of high pressure up to the north. And we've also got a ridge of high pressure out in the Atlantic, and that sort of extends a little bit to this ridge up to the northeast. So this is quite a blocked sort of situation beginning to emerge. This could be in response to the stratospheric warming that occurred over the North Pole, or around Greenland actually, but it did infiltrate into the North Pole a little bit. This could be in response to that. So yeah, the ECMWF definitely seeing that area of high pressure. Now the GFS isn't quite as good, really, with the placement of that high pressure. Has it more across central parts of Europe, but it does ridge up to the northeast a little bit. And it's also got this cut-off trough, same as the ECMWF, down to the south of the country. The ridge is in the Atlantic. The flow is a little bit more westerly with this, although, as I say, it does eventually come into this cut-off drop sitting to the south of the country. It's not quite sort of the classic pattern that the ECMWF is. The ECM is is very close to being a really cold, classically cold pattern, really, and I'll show you the charts at the end of the video for the ECMWF. It's a very cold run this morning based on this. So the ECM definitely trending into quite a cold block pattern. The GFS not quite as good, but it is going in that sort of direction. If we have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles, we can see that the red line here, which is the 30-year average, is telling us that we're going to be going below average over the coming week or so. Just dipping down now after yesterday's pretty mild weather. We're dipping down. We go back up just a little bit above the red line as we bring the storm system through late on Wednesday, but after that, yeah, we go back below average and we stay there for quite a few days. This takes us to say the 23rd, 22nd just here, and we're still quite significantly below the red line, the 30-year average, not until we get right to the very end of the chart, into the final days of the month. This is the 27th of January just here. Not until we get to the very end of the chart that we start to see the ensemble mean, which is the white line, picking up and going back back to the 30-year average. Although there's a lot of scatter by that point, as there always is late on in the ensemble, so that can't be relied upon. But let's concentrate on this first part of the chart. That's telling us that we've got at least a week, maybe a little bit more, of below average conditions coming up, if you take out this very brief interruption that we get with the storm system that comes in on Wednesday night. And there's still rainfall spikes associated with this below average weather as well. So as I was explaining in yesterday's video, with the temperatures going below average and bringing precipitation through, there will be the risk, an ongoing risk, of wintry conditions. And as I say, today is just the start of it. There could well be some sleet or snow coming through as we get through towards the end of the weekend and on into next week. The temperature anomaly for the next week, the 13th to the 21st of January, shows that we're going to be cold on average. These are trending colder. This is only a little bit cold on average when we looked at it yesterday, but today we've gone a bit more below average, so now we're in the 2 to 4 degrees below average temperature bracket there across most parts of the country. Quite a significantly cold week coming up. If we have a look at the generic charts, then this is the GFS chart for Thursday. There's that horrendous storm sitting to the north of Scotland, 955 millibars. The worst of winds still look like they're reserved for southern Scotland, much of Ireland, northern England, into North Wales as well. Elsewhere it will be windy. Further south it will be a windy day on Thursday. There'll be gales around, but the severest, most damaging of the gusts will be in that swathe, I think, from southern Scotland to Northern Ireland and over the Irish Sea into Northern England and impacting northern parts of Wales as well. As that low pressure pulls away as we go into Friday, it starts to bring down this colder air again from the northwest, so that'll start to bring excuse me, that'll start to bring the cold air back and the temperatures will drop. It'll also bring wintry showers back into the northwest. They'll turn increasingly to snow in the north as we go into Friday. Then going into the weekend, the GFS keeps the low pressure to the north. High pressure is ridging out through the central part of the Atlantic, so it's forcing the cold air down across the country. Despite the fact it's still relatively Atlantic based, the wind flow, the cold air is being forced down between the trough of low pressure over Scandinavia and the ridge in the Atlantic. This low pressure here in the central Atlantic is a bit of a complicating factor. Some of the models want to bring this into the south of the country late on Saturday and into Sunday. That would engage the cold air and bring the risk of snow. Now, the latest run of the GFS wants to take that low pressure down towards the Bay of Biscay, but it's very uncertain where that low pressure is going. If it does push into the south, we could be looking at quite significant snow as early as Saturday night across some parts of central southern England. It's a low risk. I'll probably place it no more than around 20%, but we do need to keep an eye on where this low pressure is going, because we've got very cold air pushing down over the weekend, and if that low pressure was to engage that cold air on Saturday night, there would be the risk of snow. As we go through into Monday, this is Monday the 19th, we're properly in a cold pattern now. Got high pressure over Iceland. We're putting down a northerly, maybe a little bit of a northeasterly wind. Now, this trough here out in the Atlantic was yesterday being forecast to come in across the country and maybe produce a snow event on Monday. The GFS now wants to keep that low pressure out to the west of the country because the blocking is intensifying really up to the northeast. So it's a colder pattern with this, but not as snowy for Monday. Eventually that low pressure dies back down in towards the Bay of Biscay again, all the time putting the winds into the east or northeast. It's going to start to bring snow showers into eastern parts of the country. But this is quite a locked in cold pattern that's developing here. The ridge out in Atlantic extending up to the high pressure over Iceland and that backs into Scandinavia. That's quite a good pattern for cold, sustained cold weather. Going through into the middle of next week, this takes us to Wednesday the 21st. Easterly winds coming in across the country. They'd be bringing in a risk of snow showers, particularly to England and Wales. And of course, what you can't tell is you may get close to the time, if this was to come off, you may get little disturbances in the flow, things that this chart can't pick up on because it's too far away. That could just enhance the snow risk a little bit more. So always with these situations, the main thing is to get into the cold block pattern and then worry about snow after that, because at short notice you can get little things cropping up, little trough, little convergence lines that can just enhance the snow risk. So yeah, it's always, the main thing is always to get into the cold pattern in the first place and then worry about snow after that. We go through to day 10, which takes us to Friday the 21st of January, and the high pressure is built nicely over Scandinavia. Low pressure is trying to come in from the Atlantic, but this is still cold and pretty blocked up to that point. The GFS parallel run shows this northerly wind coming down as we go into the weekend. It will be a cold weekend. There'll be snow showers across parts of the country. There'll be hard overnight frosts as well, and of course with that little low pressure, the parallel GFS places that little low pressure off the north coast of Spain, so it takes it a long way south. But if that low pressure was to be further north and affecting southern parts of England, there would be a risk of snow with that as early as Saturday night. But generally, let's keep the idea that we're having a northerly wind into the weekend with just snow showers and hard overnight frost. We go to the start of next week, we're still in a block cold pattern, bringing that northerly wind down, particularly bringing snow showers to the north and the east of the country. And things just get more wintry through the course of next week, actually. The high pressure still to the north, got low pressure developing in the North Sea here. Could be bringing in snow showers or maybe even some more persistent spells of sleet or snow into eastern parts of the country. And we end up on day 10 still in that cold pattern. High pressures around Scandinavia, generally to the north of Scotland from Iceland to Scandinavia, still pulling in that easterly wind. That doesn't look particularly wintry, snowy on the face of it, but as I say, we're in the cold pattern by then, so you could get features cropping up within that. And then the East MWF, this has been quite a shocker this morning. For Sunday, we're pulling down this northerly wind across the country, so it's cold with snow showers at the weekend. We go into Monday, and here comes the low pressure in the Atlantic. The East MWF is still going for this risk of a snow event on Monday. There it comes, pushing in through Monday. This is midnight Tuesday, moving into the country and stalling within the cold air. So that's still the idea that we were looking at yesterday, with the rain coming in off the Atlantic, trying to introduce milder air, but stalling within the cold air and producing a snow event. That could be quite a significant snow event if that did come off. The low pressure then slips to the south of the country along the storm. There's a weather front draped through the country, and the area of low pressure developed along the weather front as it stalled. The low pressure slipping to the south, maintaining cold weather across the country. Here's the upper air temperature showing that -5 isotherm is over the country both Tuesday and into Wednesday, so there's no warm up despite that low pressure trying to come in off the Atlantic. And then a high pressure sort of takes over the pattern as we go into the latter part of next week. Got a big area of high pressure over Scandinavia, pulling the winds into the east. So we end up on day 10, Friday the 23rd of January, in really quite a cold block pattern. We've got 1,035 millibar area of high pressure over Scandinavia. The winds are in from the east. We've got quite a significant cold pool sitting to the east of the country as well, -10, -15 at 850 HPA just to the east. That would be drawn in on that easterly wind, and that sort of sub-zero temperatures by day and by night, and an increasing risk of snow moving in from the east. That's probably a bit over the top. I tend to side more of the GFS side of things, but it shows the potential which you get locked into a cold pattern. That's why I always talk about whether it's just a transient breeze sort of cold pattern, or whether it's a locked-in, blocked cold pattern. When you get locked into a cold pattern, things can just escalate and get more and more cold. That's what happened, you remember, I'm sure, through March 2013. That the pattern just got more and more extreme as we went along, and it finished up a very extremely cold month. So we've got to wait and see whether we get locked into this or not. It could be that the models are going over the top, but on the face of it, once we get the storm out of the way on Thursday, we could be looking at least a week of really quite cold weather, and probably getting colder actually through that week. So next week could be the most wintry week that we've had in the British Isles since March 2013. So all looking quite interesting if you like it cold and wintry. You've had to wait a long time for this winter to get going, but it looks like, unless the models are overdoing it, which they could be, it looks like things are finally happening. If you want it cold and wintry, we'll be updating over the next few days, of course, at Gavsworthy, so keep checking back for more as we reach this critical juncture. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.